Princess Beatrice, she's been speaking out about the challenges of premature birth, as she calls for increased research. Now, the princess's daughter, Athena, was born several weeks premature on January 22, and Princess Beatrice said that premature birth can be incredibly lonely. Can you talk to us a bit more about what she had to say?
That's right. This was her second daughter. She came early. As you said, she was born on January 22nd. And we know that Beatrice, there was some fear that she would go into premature labour because that Christmas she was intending to go to Italy, where her husband's family is from. At the last minute, they decided not to. They went and spent it with the royal family on the Sandringham estate. But why this is interesting is it shows that Beatrice and Eugenie are still being welcomed into these types of roles, these new spokespeople roles. She was also recently reappointed in a role for Outward Bound. Now, these young women have a great presence in royal life. If they can stick to doing these sorts of things, to speaking about premature birth or in Eugenie's case, about scoliosis and the impacts of that, that's where they can, as non-working royals, but working alongside charities, really make a difference. Now, Beatrice is the most shy of the two sisters, so for her to take on these roles and to speak very personally, she never shows pictures of her children or anything like that, speaks to her really wanting to maintain that royal, she only gets these roles because she is royal, is to be doing good out there. And they will be as nervous as all get out, those two women, about the roles they now have, speaking very tentatively, and they have to be aligned with charities. We saw that the criticism of them with the Saudi princes, that sort of thing. It has to make sure it's very on message and very on line with charity work.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Princess Catherine has spoken out about letting go, or learning to let go, I should say, of what's no longer needed and to embrace change. This is in a new personal video message, which was released via Kensington Palace. As part of her Mother Nature series, Kate encouraged people to embrace the beauty found in change.
As the days grow shorter and the shadows grow longer, the energy of summer withdraws into autumn. This is the season for reflection and refinement. Trees shed their canopies in preparation for winter, just as we too learn to let go of what is no longer needed. Through greater awareness of our inner and outer worlds, we can find clarity and purpose in what matters most. Encouraging us to simply pay attention and listen. With the turning of the seasons, Mother Nature teaches us there's beauty to be found in change, impermanence, and in letting go.
Now, it's interesting timing because, of course, Catherine and Prince William are in the midst of major changes themselves, having moved from Adelaide Cottage to their new forever home.
I think Kate is really entering her wisdom era. This is the queen that we are going to see. She's in her 40s now. She's experienced a lot of life. You know, you cannot live within that family and not have to be very onto it in terms of how things are handled. You know, there is that role is a constant solution-based job, frankly. What I love about the lyricism in these videos is that they are so on brand with her. She has worked in early childhood. She has seen nature and it has become a massive salve for her. It's almost on the sort of meditation, mindfulness, you know, in that bracket. But I feel like she's really speaking to a new generation of women and men coming through, and she really wants the royal family to be relatable. Now, getting out into nature, children being in nature. Her son George, of course, is 12. William's talked about the fact he wants a mobile phone. They're putting the kibosh on that for the moment. They, of course, are moving house into this forever home because George next year will start high school, and that will be the moment. You know, what do you do with a 13-year-old son in a media environment? She is driving a message of really solid parenting through her early childhood education, but also being in nature, and that's stilling and calming her. And, you know, she speaks from tremendous experience now. I cannot wait to see what the next 40, 50 years are going to look like for the Princess of Wales.
No, we're very lucky to have Princess Catherine indeed. Now, Harry and William, there's been a bit of speculation. Will they patch things up? Will they not? Of course, after years of tension between the royal brothers, a rare public remark from Prince William has sparked fresh signs that he might finally be open to a truce with Harry, but under strict conditions. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
That's right. He gave an interview to a journalist in the environmental sphere, and he was talking about how things were going to be different going forward. And he said, we don't want to go back to the way things worked when Harry and I were younger. Now, the fact he name-checked Harry in that interview is massive. We cannot underestimate that William, who has basically operated from a position of extreme loathing towards his brother since he released Spare, where of course there was the anecdote about them having this private scuffle and the dog bowl being broken and all that sort of detail that William would have hated. To have mentioned Harry's name and to not only mention his name, but to suggest that the way things were done in the past was hard for him. I don't know what he's referring to. It could be things like having to walk behind their mother's coffin when Harry was only 12. I wonder to what extent William, having a son the same age as Harry is now, it was 12 when he lost his mother, whether that has led William to a place of greater reconciliation. And we know that Kate and the King are pushing for William, who is the hard guy, to actually soften towards his brother. We know the King has met with Harry. I think there's every chance that this signals a softening in William.
Wow, that's significant.
Which will be huge.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the photo we want,
right
isn't
now,
it?
But yes, it would be a huge moment indeed. Now, there's a bit of talk that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are planning a trip to Australia. These are the reports according to a comment they made in a leaked letter to a celebrity friend. Of course, that must be a Meghan Markle thing indeed. What can you tell us about this?
That's right. They met with this astrologer in New York called Angela Pearl. They're apparently fans of each other. There's a photo up on the Instagram page of Angela Pearl, and she's also received a letter from them subsequent to that meeting in October where they've said she's a Ukrainian woman but now lives in Australia, saying, best wishes to your family in Ukraine, and we hope to visit you in Australia soon. Huge news, of course, because they spent their time, Meghan announced her pregnancy in Australia, and we would love them to come down here, wouldn't we? It would just be such an interesting occasion. But of course, remember when Meghan did come to Australia, that was the moment she went, what, this is royal work? Lots of biographies and things have looked at the fact that she questioned whether she should have been paid for the work that she was doing. She also saw a lot of it is pointless, according to Tina Brown, the biographer. So I think, while we'd love to see them down here, it'd be great for stories and for our sort of work. Yeah. And, maybe they want to bring the kids and introduce them to some koalas and things like that. They're still very, Harry particularly is very, very fond of Australia, having spent time here. So it's very possible.
Okay, we'll watch this space indeed. Now, finally, let's just talk about Disney, away from the royal news to some entertainment news. It seems that Disney is finally ditching DEI. Disney didn't mention diversity in its annual report for the first time since 2019. Angela's Disney finally waking up, finally getting the message. You go woke, go broke.
Well, Disney has been that woke company, hasn't it? And if you think about Snow White and the trouncing that got by the critics, I just will never forget the Times wrote that Disney had trashed its crown jewel, that it was a sanctimonious remake. There's some criticism at the moment around a remake of Moana, which is just seeping through today. It's a CGI enhanced remake, and everybody loved that original Moana from 10 years ago. It was just, perfect Disney in its space. But interesting that they're obviously looking at the optics on the company and also the way the company works, and probably also, Trump has said he doesn't want DEI within companies. Look, the fact there's no mentions at all, does this signal a complete reversal, or are they just trying to actually subtly get a better public image, because they need to do something. It is, this is a major brand that people think, has lost the plot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Plenty of other companies are rolling back DEI policies, after it's been proven that it doesn't really work. But Disney in particular has just been so woke, especially with that Snow White remake. My goodness. Angela Mollard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.